대한 이야기입니다. 우수한 해외 인재는 왜 한국에서 창업하지 않는가라는 다소 되게 심오하고 또 저희에게 되게 궁금증을 유발하는 주제로 세 분의 패널들을 모시고 패널 토크 진행하겠습니다. 지금부터 패널분들 소개 후에 무대로 올라오실 때 좀 큰 박수 부탁드리겠습니다. 먼저 모더레이터이신 German Entrepreneurship의 Marta, Allina 총괄님, 그리고 3IINC의 Jeet, Singh, Dhindsa님, 그리고 Shuttle 딜리버리의 제이슨 부테님 세 분 모시고 함께 패널 토크 진행해 보도록 하겠습니다. 네. 큰 박수 부탁드립니다. 네, 그러면 이제 저는 그 모더레이터이신 마르타 알리나 총괄님께 마이크를 넘기도록 하겠습니다.
예, 감사합니다. 수고 많으셨습니다. 안녕하세요, 여러분. 오늘은 아쉽지만 제가 한국어로 아니라 영어로 세션을 진행할 예정이는데 그래서 혹시 필요하시면 저기 뒤에서 번역기기 찾으러 가시면 됩니다. 네. So welcome to today's session where we'll go very deep, we'll go very honest about why or why not foreign talent, foreign startups are tapping into the Korean startup scene. My name is Marta, and I'm the country representative for German Entrepreneurship. I also run Seoul Startups, the biggest international startup community here in Korea. I wear many hats, but not as many hats as my fellow panelists here, who I would like to ask to introduce themselves. Let's start with Jeet here. If you could say a few words about yourself and what brought you here to Korea.
Okay, yeah, thanks, Marta. Hello, everyone. My name is Jeet Dhindsa. I'm an American from Los Angeles and San Diego, California. I've been living in Korea. On Friday, it's going to be my 11-year anniversary, Pepero Day, in Korea. And what brought me to Korea was I was scouted by Kia Motors to work in global digital marketing. At that time, the automotive industry was in an aggressive arms race to dominate social media. At that time, corporations were trying to figure out how do we use social media. So they kind of put together a dream team. I guess I was part of that dream team. And then after that, I started my own business. And I was one of the first foreigners to earn the Korean startup visa. And I've just, ever since then, been doing several entrepreneurial pursuits. I'm really happy to be here and having this discussion with everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeet. And Jason, what about you? What's your story?
Yeah, I'm Jason Boutte. I'm from the United States as well, from a place called Louisiana, New Orleans. And I came to Korea mainly because I was always very interested as a young boy to move to Asia. And I didn't know how to do that. I didn't have a plan, but it was always in my mind, and it was just something that I really wanted to do. And eventually I was, in college, and a friend of mine who ended up going into the military, he was stationed here in Korea, and he said, hey, you were always talking about living in Asia, here's your chance. And actually I was really scared to do something like that, but after pushing from him, I took the courage in 2007 to at least come to Korea for a visit. And I fell in love, and I was always trying to figure out a way to stay here. And like he just mentioned, entrepreneurship was the clearest way for me to decide how I could add value to the ecosystem and as well to myself. So I decided to go into entrepreneurship. Obviously, we launched a company called Shuttle Delivery. It's a foreign food convenience delivery platform, and it really came out of desperation to solve my own problem, which was get a burrito delivered to my house. So.
Yeah, Jason, you said a little bit about your business, but Jeet, what about you? And what are the multiple businesses that you've been doing here in Korea?
Yeah, so my first business was actually in the medical beauty tourism industry. So what we were doing is several, especially focused in the Gangnam area, there are several beauty hospitals, everything from dental, hair care, cosmetic surgery, but a lot of them don't have international departments. They don't have an English team, an English website. So what we would do is we would go to these hospitals and they will completely outsource the international function to our company, and then we will build out that infrastructure for the hospital in exchange for a revenue sharing model. That business was great. It was doing really well until something called COVID-19 happened. And so that I had to pivot and go in another direction. Then after that, I switched to consulting, where we were helping Korean ventures soft land in global markets and also global ventures soft land in Korea. The company that I'm primarily focused on right now is 3i Inc., which is a Korean company. They make an amazing product called Pivo. It's also a prospective unicorn company. And I'm really excited to be there right now. That's taking up most of my time. Yeah.
That's awesome. And before I dive into the discussion questions, Jason, can you tell us a little bit about shuttle delivery? I think everybody here has used Coupang Eats, 배달의 민족, but do they know shuttle delivery? And why should they be using shuttle delivery?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, we're not trying to hard sell anybody to use Shuttle. We really come with the mentality is, you know, can we solve one of your issues? And if you're not having any issues, then we don't need to really push you to change over to what we're doing. We're really just in the business of creating convenience for a lot of issues that mostly happen with expats. Expats have some issues, like he just mentioned, with, you know, soft landings and onboarding into Korea. And I think what we're trying to do now is focus our energy on making that transition as easy as possible. Of course, we're bilingual, so our food delivery platform is in Korean and in English. But like Marta said, most people feel comfortable with Coupang Eats, and that's totally fine. We're not going to try to do anything that's going to not really fulfill what our core competency is, which is really being as convenient for people who have trouble, you know, onboarding in Korea.
Awesome. And definitely check it out, though, because there's some coupons for users from what I believe.
Absolutely. I mean, even if you just use my name, Jason Boutte, you can get some free credit if you want to try us out. You know, download the app and then just put my name in and you'll get some credit just that way.
I'll be honest, like, why, of all the markets, you both come from the US, why do business in Korea? It's not exactly an evident first choice, to be honest.
I like to punish myself and do very difficult things. No, I actually, well, one was I was here already, but what was also attractive is to Americans, I think Korea is a great place to just live in general. I grew up in Los Angeles. It's very safe here. The cost of living is pretty decent. And also, it's a very attractive tax benefit for foreigners. If you're a foreigner and you set up a business here for the first 5 years, you pay a flat tax rate of 19%. Whereas in the United States, if you're working, especially in California, 50% of your paycheck is going away to taxes. So from a financial point of view, also quality of life, safety, it's a great place to live. Then the next challenge is, I want to live here. How do I make a business around where I live? And I thought that it was a unique time to start a business because I was among that first group of foreign entrepreneurs trying to pave the path forward. So I liked it. I thought it was a unique challenge. It's a great opportunity to be a part of history. So that's what motivated me. I do like difficult things because difficult things force you to grow. And I was very bored being a, corporate man in a big, large Korean company. It was, it's not that challenging. It's kind of boring. So I thought it was a great time to do this.
Yeah, corporate life in Korea is a whole other story that we can share. But what about you, Jason? Why do business in Korea?
I think it's more so, reverse engineer it. Like what he just mentioned is, it's a great place to live. So why not create value in the place you live? I live here. I want to add value to the place that I live in. If I'm not adding value, I find that to be not the most constructive way about, you know, I could have critiques about Korea, but unless I'm really trying to improve it, then I really shouldn't have so much, you know, stuff to say, in my opinion. So my thought process was, what actually can I truly add value to the ecosystem? And it just so happened to be food delivery. It could have been a numerous amount of things, but that one was the one that was the most obvious to me, and that was the one that I truly felt I can do well, and we've been doing it for close to 10 years now. So doing business in Korea, I think, is about, I always say, finding white space. And I just happened to find this specific white space that kind of wasn't filled yet. And I think anybody out there that kind of wants to do business in Korea needs to think about that before they decide to just do business in Korea. It's more so about if you can add value to the current situation. So.
Okay, so I now see why you would want to do business here in Korea, but what are the challenges? What is not so great about doing business in Korea? And I want you to, don't look at these people here. I want you to be brutally honest. Let it all out.
No filter. Yeah, I'll
No
talk without a
filter
filter.
today.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, it's tough. I mean, entrepreneurship is very tough. And when I was trying to start my business, I think it was even more difficult because I did not speak the language fluently. So that was a huge language barrier because the language barrier locks you out of so much information and resources. So you're kind of at a huge disadvantage. It's a huge handicap to have to navigate the entire business startup setup process just only in English. So that was already like one of the most frustrating parts is the accessibility of information. The other thing was there's a lot of red tape and bureaucracy you have to navigate in a foreign country. I was in the medical space and I needed this license and certificate and this insurance, and then I need to register. And then on top of that, there's a whole immigration layer to navigate. So yeah, so it was very, the difficulties are really not a streamlined process that just breaks it down step by step for how to do something. You have to kind of navigate and figure things out on your own, or have a very good trusted advisor or friend to handhold you through the process. So I want to say that was the red tape. Navigating the red tape is probably one of the more frustrating things. Also, some things with banking. I think every foreigner doesn't like the way banking works in Korea. There's a lot of it has to do with some security reasons or some policies that indirectly or directly discriminate against foreigners. For example, something in cryptocurrency, like if you wanted to buy Bitcoin from a Korean exchange and you're a foreigner, you're not allowed to do that. And right now, everyone's talking about cryptocurrencies, NFTs, and we want to be involved in this space, but there's this kind of stigma to, what are foreigners going to do with their money? How are they going to move it around? And the simplest thing is just simply prohibit this process right now. So those things are, yesterday I lost 2 hours of my time because my OTP banking token expired, the battery ran out. And going into the bank, and you need to go get go to the courthouse and get your corporate stamp and your corporate registration. It needs to have 3 months of validation. Bring your 사업자 등록증. Give us a DNA sample. I'm just kidding about that. But there's just so many steps and red tape to do what I thought was a simple thing, like the battery's expired, just give me a new token. And I lost, and they're like, oh, don't worry, it's only gonna cost manwon. But I'm like, yeah, it costs manwon, but I lost 2 hours of my time. What did that cost? So I think it's the big frustrations are the language barrier to access information and the red tape and bureaucracy that you have to navigate to do sometimes the most simplest things. Yeah.
So, Jason, we talked about those challenges, but what about the Korean business culture? Is there anything that is it challenging? Is it not challenging? Is it easy to navigate?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I might be kind of going the easy route, but I mean, maybe it's just because of my now tons of experience of navigating through Korean business culture. But the way I look at it is like this. No matter where you go in the world, relationships are the core of how to do business, really. If you have good relationships, you're going to have an easier time sometimes with doing business. And the reality is that we're all kind of foreigners. We came to Korea with no network. We built a network. Now I've built a pretty decent network, and I can utilize that network. But for people who lived here, they've already had that network through where they went to high school or where their hometown is or where they went to university. Those are the same things that happen in any country, honestly. So I think that if you take the time and you really try to push forward in terms of finding the right networks that are relevant to you and your business, you can do quite well even if you are not born here in Korea. Is it easy? No, absolutely not. It takes time, it takes trust, it takes a lot of putting the work in and maintaining those relationships. But business culture in Korea is built on a lot of trust in how you have relationships with other people that they trust. And so if you can do that well, you'll probably, keep growing your business in a lot of ways. So to answer your question, was it easy? No, but I don't think it's typically easy in any country, honestly, especially if you're coming to the country with no network in place from the start. So yeah, that's just my 2 cents on it.
Let me spin it another way a little bit. Do you think the Korean society is entrepreneurial?
Do I think Korean society is entrepreneurial? Yeah, I mean, what did they say? Some studies show that there's like majority of the businesses in Korea are like mom and pops, SMEs, like really tiny one owner operators. These are like your little chicken restaurants that franchise from the big players. And I mean, there's tons of people out there that have the entrepreneurial spirit. Now, if they're doing startups like us, maybe not. Maybe that hasn't grown yet, and maybe that ecosystem needs to keep developing. I think a lot of the points he made, obviously, that'll help increase the ability for the ecosystem to grow. My personal little thing that I guess I could get on my soapbox about is hiring. Right now, Korea's having a huge labor shortage in every capacity. If you look at even huge corporations like McDonald's right now can't even open for breakfast because they can't hire people. And that's an issue that's not just affecting McDonald's, that's affecting my business. I don't know, I can't speak for these guys, but I think it's affecting almost everybody who's an entrepreneur these days. So a way that I would think a good solution would be is allow more foreigners to work. I would love to hire foreigners that are qualified to work. Would I also love to hire Koreans? Absolutely, for the reasons he just said. Great network, great relationships, the language, the ability to navigate through a lot of admin. I would 100% want to hire whoever can help me grow my business. So in terms of hiring, I think they could be a little bit more flexible and hopefully allow more foreign people to get visas and different opportunities to work here. But overall, I think that, the society is entrepreneurial. So it was kind of a yes and no answer.
Just to build upon that, I think Korean people are entrepreneurial. They're very industrious. They do have that can-do spirit. I mean, you walk through any neighborhood, you're constantly seeing new businesses start up and usually a lot of times fail, but they pick up and they go. Now, in terms of I don't believe in weaknesses. I think that weaknesses are often strengths unfocused. And I think that in terms of, if I was to reframe the idea of the question, is that are they innovative or able to problem solve and come up with a unique solution to a complex problem? I think that type of entrepreneurial innovation, creative thinking is still being developed. I don't think it's quite there yet, but I think it's just a cultural revolution that needs to happen to kind of encourage that kind of thinking. I think a lot of the innovation still is very fast follower. I'm not going to take a big risk, and because a part of being entrepreneurial is taking a big risk and a leap of faith that this idea that's never existed before, you think it's going to work. And sometimes I think culturally, you want to hold back because you first want to see if there's a proven path to success. And if someone else has done it, and if they've done it, okay, then I'm going to do that. I'm still going to be innovative. I'm going to do it better than they did it. But that's what I think still needs to be developed, is this culture to be creative and to take a bold, brave risk to do something that's never been done before. Yeah.
The world belongs to the bold.
Yes.
At the end of the day. Jeet, I kind of want to circle back to what you mentioned earlier, because you said you're one of the first people to get the D84 visa, the Oasis program, startup visa. Can you tell us about your experience, and would you recommend this process to fellow foreign entrepreneurs? And be honest.
Now, if you were to start the process now, I think it's a lot better than when I did it. I mean, I was the first batch, so I was like a guinea pig. It was an experiment, so it was a bit frustrating. But sometimes I see obstacles as there's a famous quote I like Marcus Aurelius once said, and it's the obstacle is the way. What stands in the way becomes the way. Whatever comes to you, you have to figure out, how do I use this to my advantage, or what Koreans call nunchi. You use your nunchi to kind of figure out, how can I use this situation to benefit me? So when I was doing it in the beginning, it was very challenging. Things were constantly changing, and there was like, you would take 2 steps forward and 1 step back. So that was hard. Now it has improved, it has streamlined. I mean, the funny story was, I recently met my old boss at Kia Motors. And when I worked at Kia, that was 11 years ago, and it was a very straight-laced, no-nonsense, very male-dominated Korean culture company. And I remember those days where every floor had a smoking room, and it was like you go to Hueshik every Friday, and even if you drank a lot and you came in late, your team jung is upset with you. But so I was catching up with him, and he was like, you know, Jeet, you would love to work at Kia now. It's changed so much. You don't have to wear suits anymore. You can work from home. A lot of the leadership are now foreigners. So I think if I'm talking about when I first did it, it was really hard. It was tough. Now I think it's gotten a lot easier. So when I see the new kids kind of complain about it a little bit, I'm like, you don't know what hard is. You know, like it's gotten better. So I would definitely encourage to try to get the startup visa if you want to start a startup here.
For the audience who don't know about the Oasis program, can you very briefly explain how it works?
Sure, it's a point-based system program that allows a foreigner to get a visa to start a business in Korea without bringing a capital investment into the country. Typically, you would need to invest $100,000 to get a visa to start a business in Korea. If you have an innovative idea and you go through a point-based system to validate your business and an idea, the Korean government will grant you this visa without having to make a capital investment in the country. Your investment is your intellectual property. It's you registering this business and this idea and innovation in the country. So it's sort of an attempt by the Korean government to do a brain drain kind of globally, that instead of registering your corporation and innovation in Silicon Valley, do it over here. We wish you the best of luck. Hopefully your company grows so that you can hire Korean people and give people jobs and improve the economy.
Okay, so we have this awesome program sort of for visa permits and for setting up a business here in Korea. From what you're saying, a lot of opportunities offered by the market and great life level. how come we don't see more foreign entrepreneurs? Jason.
I think that it's still challenging to change what people might interpret about Korea. I still think that, you know, foreigners who come to Korea, when they first come, they're maybe under the influence of, like, you know, all the cool stuff that's happening with K-culture, K-pop, K-beauty, all these really cool things that are happening, and they look to it as more like, oh, they don't need anything fixed. It's like what he mentioned, what business is typically finding a problem and then providing a solution. That's kind of the simplicity of what business kind of is. It's like, oh, well, there's an issue I keep seeing with a lack of X. I'm going to start providing X, and now I have a business. But a lot of foreigners come here with the mentality of, you know, I'm here to see how cool they're doing it, and all the cool things that they've accomplished, and all of the cool cultural things that are happening. So I think it's a mindset of what they're coming with the mentality to do. You look at a place like America, and the type of maybe person who's from not originally from America, they come to America with the idea, I'm going to build something so that I can have a better life. So it's a different mentality where they want to come to actually build some type of business to actually have a better life than where they came. But I don't think Korea has gotten to that point yet. So honestly, I'm not going to pretend like I have all the answers. I think that it's just going to take time. Has it improved tremendously from when I first got here? And I think what you just mentioned, it totally has, without a doubt. But it's still going to take more time to just spread the word that this is a great place to do business. And you're going to need more case studies, because I think you mentioned earlier, people will always look at success stories to motivate themselves. If you see a bunch of success stories like, wow, that guy Jason, he started shuttle delivery and it went well. He doesn't look that smart. I could do that. That's what it takes, stuff like that. So hopefully I can inspire people out there, and other people who can also have some level of success here will do the same.
And just to build upon that, I think that it's really a marketing problem. I think that Korea is not really being marketed enough globally as a destination to come here and start a startup. I know plenty of guys in Silicon Valley that hate San Francisco. They don't want to live in San Francisco. Is having a huge exodus. Everyone's getting the heck out of San Francisco. They're moving to Texas, Austin. If you show Korea is a great place to live. Trust me, I think a lot of developers and nerds would love to come here and live over here. It's an exciting place. And I think it doesn't come in their awareness as a digital nomad that maybe this is a destination for me. Digital nomad destinations, other places come up, like Bali and Thailand. So I think that in the popular culture, it's a PR problem, it's a marketing problem. If there's, you know, a hit Netflix series that shows a foreigner come to Korea and start a startup, and it becomes a show, or because Koreans are great at exporting entertainment content. So if they are able to kind of market it as a good destination, then I think the idea will pick up. But the government is not the best when it comes to coming up with really cool, creative marketing campaigns, you know? So I think if the private sector was involved in that, or even getting entertainment companies involved in this concept and marketing Korea as a great destination for digital nomads and startups, then I think you'll see that pick up. And also allowing smaller startups hire foreign talent, because in order to hire, there's amazing developers from Russia, Ukraine, United States, England, Slovenia, Mexico, all over, but you have Poland, shout out. But the problem is, if you're a Korean company and you want to hire one foreign employee, you must first have hired 5 Korean employees. And so sometimes a great Korean founder finds his dream match, which is this foreign developer, full stack developer, and he's like, I really want to do the business with this guy, but there's only 2 of us. and that becomes like a visa and immigration problem. So the company that I'm with now, Pivo 3i, it is primarily I think the big success of Pivo was foreign talent. A good majority of the employees at this Korean company are all foreigners, and the official working language of this Korean company is English. And because they pulled all that foreign talent from the foreigners that were living here in Korea. That allowed this Korean company to rapidly globalize, have all their marketing content be cool, relevant, localized, and it was a key part of their success. So I think if you can replicate that allow Korean startups to hire foreigners without that 5 hire threshold, I think you'll start to see more talent come here. And startups, there's a big cross-pollination process. You do a startup, but it probably fails. And then through that process, you met another guy or another woman, and you start another startup. And so there's this cross-pollination process that needs to happen. But it won't happen without easier visa eased visa regulations, and marketing Korea as a place to try to do this. Yeah.
So you kind of touched upon my next question, and you can see a lot of people here in the audience represent both the government, VCs, various ecosystem players, people of influence. What can they do to make Korea an attractive place for foreign talent? Not only through marketing and visa policies, but are there other ways that we as the ecosystem players can change the perception of Korea and bring more developers, more entrepreneurs here to do business?
Honestly, I think stuff like this is always good. I truly believe that if you have more communication and more conversations, you're going to see change. So when I get invited to these types of things, I always try to make time. Even if I'm busy, I try to make time, because if I keep complaining but I'm actually not trying to communicate, then it's partly my fault. And so I think that the more we do these type of open conversations, if they involve more startups, because who knows startups better than startups themselves, you know? If you want to know about the startup ecosystem, you want to know about improving it, you know, make a board of startups that you can listen to and actually have say in some changes in different policies and procedures. I think that could definitely help, because then people can't just keep complaining if they're not actually going to show up and say, okay, yeah, I'm running a business, but I'm going to show up every month or every week to talk about how to improve this ecosystem. If they don't want to do that, then you can say, well, I gave you an opportunity and you didn't want to take it. But right now, I think that's quite limited. So that could maybe change in the future. We'll see.
I think one real great life hack or social engineering way to kind of speed through this process would be for these government agencies and organizations to actually hire foreigners. I've seen it firsthand. There's a wonderful gentleman that in the Yoksam Jumin Center, his name is Nihat, and he works there at the Foreign Center as a director. Now, granted, he has Korean citizenship, which kind of makes it easier for him to have work in the Korean government. But he's so passionate about jump-starting this kind of foreign entrepreneurship ecosystem. So I think it would be essential if you actually have foreigners working as your employees in these government organizations, because then they can advocate. And when the governments are taking on these initiatives, the tricky thing is that a lot of these employees often do like a 2-year rotation. So you get a young person or a very passionate person, and they're like, okay, I want to work on this project to bring foreign entrepreneurship. And they put their heart and soul into it. And then they say, we're now transferring you to this new department that has nothing to do with what you were working on, and it's going to be over here now. And then they have to start that process all over again. So this kind of knowledge transfer and like building upon a legacy of work is a bit difficult. So that's more of an internal governance issue. I don't want to criticize it too much because I have to renew my visa on Friday. But, I think hiring foreigners within the government and allowing people that are building the programs, let them stay longer than 2 or 3 years. Like, let them stay in that area and continue to build it. Yeah.
Awesome. I do have more questions, but I also believe the audience might have some questions as well. So I'm going to give the 5 minutes that we have left for the audience to ask questions. 질문이 있으시면 손 들고 여기 직원들이 마이크를 드리겠습니다. We have mics here, so if you have a question, please raise your hand. And yeah, 편하시게. Don't be scared. We don't bite.
We're all friends here. It's a very intimate
honest.
session.
여기 앞에서.
Thank you, Jason. Maybe I can sit down and talk. Is it okay?
Please do.
Thank you. I think absolutely you guys are right. You know, I've been actually Korean, but I've been abroad for 25 years. Exactly same feeling, you know, I'm having. Because it's how come you come up first time? You know, I don't know, first impression or whatever that really hitting your idea, come to Korea, first time. And then you had what kind of feel do you had? You do this business, a lot of us start up here. It's scary, you know, especially you go to the abroad. I went abroad for first time. I lost the airplane twice, you know, getting hell out of me. So, but the best experience I had, because that I can do anything. So which one you can, you know, give the audience that kind of feeling? What spark you are here? Thank you. You understand? A little bit too long.
So what? Just to reframe the question, like,
First
what was the
time-
spark
Yes,
that
yes.
brought us here? What lured us to
That's right.
to
What brings
Korea?
you here to? You got a confidence, total confidence. You can do it.
Yeah, what made you think like this is I'm staying here and I'm going on?
Well, for me, I think my background is, you know, I'm from the South. You know, the United States South is very traditional, and for good or for bad, we like the way we do things there. And it's not very dynamic. I fell in love with Korea, I think, because it was so dynamic. It was really like you could see changes quite quickly. I think the moment I really was like, this place is very different was I was like on the subway and I was seeing like these like, you know, older women using their smartphone to like internet shop. I was like, whoa, this place is like open to, you know, old, new, you know, older people, young people. Everybody's open to ideas, open to things changing. Will it always match the speed that we want things to change? No. Never. No society can do that. But at least here in Korea, you can see like more just that sense of dynamic culture. And that's pretty cool for me. I can't speak on anybody else. I don't know their background. But for me, that was the reason I think I fell in love.
Thank you.
I think for me, like, what attracted me to Korea was just the adventure. So that's what really kind of brought me here, was just a change of scenery and having an adventure. But what sparked my mind to take on this challenge and undertaking? Because it was, when I left Kia, all my Korean friends were like, you just committed suicide. They're like, you had the most stable, secure job. You could have stayed there for the rest of your life. You're going to start a startup in Gangnam plastic surgery. You can't even speak Korean. Like, you just committed suicide. Are you crazy? So, but what sparked my that drive was people telling me that you're gonna fail, you can't do it. There's this thing that I think all expats worldwide can relate to with Koreans. Koreans have this thought energy in their psyche called Han. And it's like, you know, being pushed down and suppressed and then having this desire to want to overcome your situation and outcomes and prove people wrong and go through that challenge. And I think that that's what was happening. It was almost like I was tapping into my own Han to be like, okay, you said I cannot do this. Now I'm going to prove you wrong. I'm going to do this. And that's what motivated me. Yeah.
Thank you, Jeet. You are absolutely right. Good luck in
thank you.
Korea. Thank you.
Thank you. We're actually done with the our time. But if you have any questions, both my fellow panelists will be around here, so feel free to find us and chat us up. Yeah, let's see more global talent come to Korea. Let's market Korea as a fun and exciting place because it has so much potential. It just needs that little kick, and everybody here in the room can force that change. So let's start from today. Thank you so much. This was great
Thank you.
being with you, and
Thank
see
you very much.
soon. Bye bye.